Yeah, that's amazing. Because what's interesting is that very thing that put us in the pit is also the very thing that causes us to rise. So I think all of us have heard this. People say, what doesn't kill you will make you stronger, and that is the absolute truth. Like, you are who you are today because of your addiction.
Right.
Like, you are the woman. It transformed you. It helped you see a part of yourself that you never knew before. So that's amazing that thing that came to kill you, it actually made you better. Like, I love the fact that we have a second chance.
Yes.
Love that fact. Hey everybody, my name is Cathy D. Smith and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am a substance abuse counselor, and today we are talking to Jessica Hughes, who is an amazing woman of God who is in recovery. I think this is her 10th month in recovery. She has an amazing story. So please join in, listen to her story, comment below, share with us, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Hey, Jessica. Thank you for joining me today. I'm so excited that you're here. We are talking about you and how you overcame addiction. We're going to talk about the process for you, some of the things that you discovered along the way. I'm so excited about your recovery because I know now that you can now become the woman that God has called you to become, and that's always exciting. So I'm going to start with just asking you to talk a little bit about your mindset when you were in active addiction.
Okay. Well, my mindset when I was in active addiction was to not think. I lost a child, and just growing up as a twin, it was definitely, trying to be seen. And I found really quickly that, you can be seen if you act out. Mm-hmm. And I was seen. Maybe not the kind of scene I wanted to be, but sometimes you just do things to be seen, period. I feel like as I've gotten to know things throughout this addiction process and recovery process, that we a lot of times are living in a false self, but it's a learned behavior. Mm-hmm. In order to feel needed or loved, that you'll do whatever it takes to be seen and to feel like you are somebody. And so I definitely was lost, even though I knew Jesus my whole entire life growing up, in Christian schools and whatnot. Always had a rebellious spirit about me, always just being the clown. And as I came into recovery, well, I'd been in several recovery places, never ready, always thinking that, I'd go in to please somebody else. Whether it be parents or courts, been arrested countless times, lost count long time ago. Have 5 DUIs on my record as of now. And just really didn't think that there was hope for me. Kind of thought I was like, Paul, gonna always be in jail. Mm-hmm. And it became a second home for me. I was okay with it. I didn't care if I got arrested. I knew how to live in that type of lifestyle as well. And
so you were pretty much hopeless.
I was hopeless, and I did not see any light at the end of the tunnel. The only light that I could see was for others, and I knew how much Jesus loved us, but I thought that it was on an earned scale. I grew up with a lot of religion in my life and not spirituality, and I did not know the difference until I came to know you, actually. And you taught me the difference, and you taught me about the shame game and how I was living in shame and guilt. And you told me that as hard as I was on other people, the reason why I was that way was because that's how hard I was on myself. And that really hit home with me. And I remember I told you at one point, as you were counseling me, that I had a problem with change. I didn't want change in my life. And not change as in change to be a better person, but change as in money. Because in my active addiction, every penny I could get, literally, I was scrounging up for a beer. And so change was a trigger for me when I first met you. And I remember telling you about it. And you said, well, Jessica, that's okay. And you're like, how come you can't just save up that change to put in the offering plate? And I was like, that's not a bad idea. And why can't I look at it that way? And so I don't even look at change. And I remember it wasn't long ago that I poured out my piggy bank and I was just like, I felt rich. And even though I had all this money in the bank, which I never had before, but now that I'm sober, I actually have money. But the money didn't matter to me. It was the change, you know, and
Wow.
I was like, look at all this change. And I thought of you, you know, and I think of you a lot because you taught me a lot about my self-identity and my self-worth. And it was your hugs too. So many times, you know, a lot of times we're missing something in life, and it's a hug to know that somebody's there for you and that they care about you as a person and they give you an identity. And it was, you always call me by my name. Hey, Jessica, how are you today, Jessica? You know, and you saw me, you know, and as a twin, I remember so many times, this is my daughter, Jennifer, and her sister, you know, or growing up in school, she was always a couple of grades ahead of me. So I was always coming in known as, oh, you're Jennifer's sister, you know, and not having the name Jessica. And so I was living in the shadows, you know. So not knowing all these things, though, at the time, it was just a me problem. And I thought that I was hopeless. And obviously I was, because look at all these things that I keep doing over and over again. You know, obviously this is what I'm called to. And maybe I'm called to teach about God in the prisons, you know. And so it became a way of life for me, and acceptance of that was going to be my life. And
Yeah, I remember when I met you, I knew you were special. I knew it because you had a, what's the word? You had an intensity about you. Like you were yearning to know, like almost from a soul level.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, and so I know special people have those traits, you know, and so that's just what I focused on. I mean, even if I had not seen those traits, everybody is special to me. But there was something unique about you, and I knew that if you can accept that uniqueness and that belovedness for yourself, I knew your life could skyrocket.
yeah,
And so that's what we're seeing today.
yes. And it's what I'm feeling today. You know, I have a feeling of self-worth today. I don't feel hopeless anymore. And it's funny because before it was always about me. And today it's not about me. I'm always seeking out who I can call and encourage, you know, and make them feel special and loved and thought of, you know. And it's all due to finding you in recovery. You know, you're so strong, and your mic drops, and you're like, and that's all that needs to be said.
Yeah.
And you taught me about true self and who God said I was, and not what other people saw me as. Because at the end of the day, that's what mattered, was what does God say that you are, and who does God say that you are? And I'm his daughter. And to know that I'm his daughter is skyrocketing for me, because I feel like I'm part of a kingdom kid, you know, and the inheritance is everything around me all the time, as far as I can look at it the right way, you know, and to look at something the right way instead of falling into self-pity or, you know, just the blame game. Acceptance now for me is, hey, you know what? This is bad, but it was a lot worse, and it can get a lot worse. And now I think about people who have it a lot worse, and I'm like, thank you, Lord, that that's not where I am today. Thank you. I can turn on my hot water, and there's hot water that comes out, and it's clean water. You know, I get down to the tiniest things that I say thankfulness for today, that I never even thought about before.
Right. Yeah, I like to tell women that, you know, I always like to talk about it because, you know, all of us can believe what God says about us, you know, because he's God. He's going to say all the magnificent things about us. But what we struggle with is believing what God says about us. And a lot of times we struggle with that because of the trauma we've been through. You know, like in your case, for instance, you were secondary to a twin. And so that taught you that you were secondary, you know. But in the mind of God, you're primary, always. no matter what you've done, that position in the heart of God never changes. So that's what we struggle with. Like, we can believe what God says about us. Yeah, God says I'm worthy. God says I'm loved. God says I'm dope, for a lack of a better word. But do we believe it, and to what degree? Because the deeper we can believe that, that's how deeply our life can change, and that's how deeply we can change the lives of others, or assist in that process, or be a light for that person. So that's the thing that we have to work on, is believing all those things that God says about us.
Right. Mm-hmm. You taught me too that I had a faith problem because I believed it for everyone but myself. Mm-hmm. And I remember so many times you said for me to work on my faith and to pray about it, and to really be hungry for it. And as good things would come along and happen in my life, you would be like, see, it's because you're believing now that you're able to receive it. I wasn't able to receive because I didn't believe. Mm-hmm. So as I learned about the belief process and changed my mindset, I was able to start receiving those good things. And without you pointing those things out to me, though, I was blind to it. It's so funny because it's almost like you can't see the forest for the trees, mm-hmm. Type thing in your own life. But whenever you have a person that comes along that knows the education that you need to know, and they open up those doors to your eyes, then you're able to properly see and apply it to your life,
Yeah, belief puts us in alignment. That's what It does. It puts us in alignment, so that God can flow through us. Right. And I like to say as us. Yes. Because we are the hand and feet of God. We Absolutely. Really are. And so we have to connect with that. Like, we have to feel the same exact worthiness, which we probably couldn't love ourselves as deeply as God loves us, but we have to try. Right. And then and that puts us in alignment, and then we can be instruments. We can be a light for each other.
Right.
What has helped you the most in this recovery process?
I think the part going back on being as hard on other people as I am myself. Because I heard that a lot in my life, that like, wow, you're so hard on yourself. And I always thought, well, if I'm not hard on myself, who's going to be? Nobody's going to follow you around and tell you what to do or what not to do, And that's where character's being built. Mm-hmm. And, today one of my things that I focus the most on is doing what I say I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. If I say I'm going to be somewhere, then I'm going to show up. Mm-hmm. And if I say that I'm going to call you, I'm going to call you. Mm-hmm. And making sure that I am a person of my word. Mm-hmm. Because I never cared about those things before. The only thing I cared about was trying to get high or drunk. And knowing that today I can wake up and thank God every single day. I actually have not only a sponsor now, but that I love, but also I have a friend who every day she and I send 10 items of gratitude to each other every day. Mm-hmm. And that it just helps me to stay focused and not to be hard on myself and beat myself up on the things that I'm failing at, but to remember the things that I'm winning at now that I wasn't before. Mm-hmm. Because before I wasn't winning at anything other than breathing, I mean, like, that's pretty much the only thing I was a champion of. Yeah. I lost countless marriages, my children. After I lost my first son, I didn't even want my children. I gave them up for adoption. I thought that I wasn't fit to be a mother. And, I don't regret that. I feel like, if you can't be the mom that they deserve, then at least be the mom by giving them two parents that will give them what they deserve, because that's what a mother really does. Mm-hmm. And you actually helped me see that too. We're more of a person when we put other people before us, mm-hmm. And that's what I don't know. That's where I find my recovery today. The good Lord has allowed me to open up an AA meeting, which never in my wildest dreams did I think that God would use me to do such things. But you spoke these things into me. You used to tell me all the time, you're going to be an evangelist mm-hmm, one day, mm-hmm. And as much as I wanted to believe that and hope for it, I just, it's so hard when you come from a secondary rate and mm-hmm. you always think of yourself as not enough or heard of yourself not being enough, that somebody like God himself would use you to help other people. So today it's amazing to me to see God using me. But you know what? I'm available today too. I wasn't available before.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because, what's interesting is that very thing that put us in the pit is also the very thing that causes us to rise. So I think all of us have heard this. People say, what doesn't kill you will make you stronger, and that is the absolute truth. Like, you are who you are today because of your addiction.
Right.
Like, you are the woman. It transformed you. It helped you see a part of yourself that you never knew before. So that's amazing that thing that came to kill you, it actually made you better. Like, I love the fact that we have a second chance.
Yes.
Love that fact.
50 chances for like me.
Yeah. And you deserve every single one of them. What would you say to a woman who may be active in addiction, that may be watching us and listen to our conversation? What would you say to her?
That life will give you whatever you'll allow it. That I, if anybody, never thought that I would have what I do today. The good Lord has given me a wonderful husband that loves him as much as I do. He's given me my family back. He's given me hope, a beautiful home. I just got a new car. Things I just thought were gone and I wasn't even worthy of. I'm sure that you're thinking the same thing. And I would say that get out of the shame game. Get out of the guilt, because the enemy is having a field day laughing. But you know what? God gives us hope. And the more you get involved and let go of fear will cripple you and keep you down. And you cast fear out and you claim the righteousness of Christ. You put on the garment of praise. I tell you, when fear comes over me, I put on praise and worship and I start singing, and fear is gone. It cannot stay. But fear is what crippled me. And made me believe that I would never be enough and that I was going to be laughed at if I got out there and tried to do something different. But, the people that I never thought would call me and ask me for help today are the people who are calling me, asking me for help. They're calling me, asking me for prayer. And I never thought, and I know it's probably hard looking at a person who looks like they have it all together. I've been on the streets. I've lived underneath bridges. I've been in the worst places that you can't even imagine. The drug houses, do anything just to get a drink of alcohol. So to think that that person is here today and has her life together, not 100%, because, we're probably never going to be there. But I found that being 100% isn't about what's in my bank account or as I look around what I do or don't have, but about the wholeness that I have in being able to lay my head down at night knowing that I did something good for somebody today. And even if that was just keeping myself sober and making my family happy, it's brought so much joy to my family and hope. And for the other people in my family that still struggle with addiction, they're blown away. Like, they can't believe that I, Jessica, am sober. And they thought once I got out of rehab that I was just there and, yeah, she's going to mess up now. And now I'm still going strong. And they can't believe it. And so now I'm seeing them feel like, wow, if she can do it, I can too. And I just want to say that you can do it as long as you stop saying you can't, because can't never could. And that is a very true saying. When you live in that shame, you've got to let go of the shame. You've got to know and find out who you are in Christ and believe, because you cannot receive if you do not believe. We have not because we ask not. And if we ask, we need to ask with the right motive. It can't be asking because you want to do it for somebody else. You got to do it for yourself, and you are worth it.
Yeah, and I think it's important what you're saying about shame, Jessica, because that mindset of shame puts us in a spirit of separation.
Yes.
And as long as we feel separate from ourselves and from God, it's really hard to have a true ownership of who we really are. That's the danger of feeling ashamed. And really there's no place for shame in our lives, because if we have the right mindset, that thing that make us feel ashamed it's also the thing that can bring us back to wholeness, that can bring us back to closeness. And whatever we feel ashamed about, if God allowed it, then it was purposed. It was purposed. And if it was purposed, then there's no need to be ashamed of it. So that spirit of shame keeps us separate, and it keeps us out of alignment.
Right.
So.
And he says, I work all things together.
Right.
So that means the bad stuff too.
That's right.
What if Paul and Peter, if Paul had said, oh, well, I've killed too many Christians, I feel ashamed, and lives in that shame, thinking because he's done all this wrong that he can't go out and do what God's called him to do, then half the Bible wouldn't be written. And Peter, after denying Jesus 3 times after he said he wouldn't, but yet he did, Jesus used him to build the church. He said, upon you, Peter, I will build my church, And so, as I thought about who wrote the Bible, there were a bunch of bad people. David, look at David. He was here's a man who said, God said, here's a man after my own heart. And this is after the fact that he committed adultery, killed his best friend, sent him out to war because he got his wife pregnant, had a bastard child. All these things we can look at of people who wrote the Bible. And if God can use them, then surely he can use me. I've had abortions. I've stolen from people. I've just done the wrongest of the wrongs. And here I am today. God has turned my ugliness into a beautifulness, and it's amazing.
Right, and you have allowed it.
Yes.
Like you stop resisting his love.
Yes.
So
it's free will.
Yeah.
He's not going to do it for me because he's a gentleman. He's never going to force himself on us.
Right.
So we have to be willing to say yes and then watch him work.
Right. Yeah, that's why recovery is such an amazing process, because in the midst of all of that you just described, you still was seeking yourself and your place in God. Like it didn't kill your desire for him. Right. So that is what's amazing, is that you survived that way of thinking, that mindset.
Yes.
And all you have to do is just stay committed to that process. When something challenging happens to you or happens to us, we stay committed. I always say, it is my mantra, however way you say it. I always say, no matter what, God is with me.
Yes.
God is with me. And that is my glue. That is what lives in my core. So I can be in the worst situation ever. I still hold on to the fact that God is with me. And every single time, he saves me. His grace is always there for me. It's never traumatic. I never lose because I believe that God is with me no matter what.
I stopped believing lies. I stopped believing, just one more time. I'm going to go and just have this one beer. Because I lied to myself so many times saying that. If I just had a nickel for every time I said that. But it was a lie. Mm-hmm. And today I know that's a lie. And I don't forget the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. Because that's something I learned in recovery as well. I used to think, I just want to shut the door on this and never look back. But if I don't look back, what happens is I relapse because I forget how bad it got. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, I'm like, how did I get here again? Today I remember waking up shaking, and my hands just like this and vomiting and just, wishing that, it would just all go away and God would just save me. Just one more time, God, just one more time. I'll never drink again. If I had a nickel every time I said that. I don't forget that now. I think back whenever I have these little, and they still come to me, and they'll probably always come to me because you hear about people relapsing after 20 years thinking they got it. Mm-hmm. So I don't ever want to forget those days and what brought me to saying enough's enough. Landis, remember Landis? Landis and I had met in recovery 3 years ago, and she and I became really close, and she was a year younger than me. And when she died, she had alcoholism as well. When she died, that was a major eye-opener for me. And I thought, because we always think that would never happen to us, but that's the lie the enemy wants us to believe, that there's something special about us that, nobody else has, but Landis was special too, and she's gone now. And I watched what her family went through, and especially her mom. And, I just think I don't want to do my family that way. I don't want to die like that. It was a horrible death, horrible. And nobody should have to die like that. And, she really opened my eyes, her death did, to I was next. If I continued down the path I was on, that was going to be me. I didn't know when, but I knew that it was just a matter of time before it would take me out too.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I'm so proud of you. You have a bright future ahead of you. You haven't seen your best days yet. They're on the way. I love you. Stay committed to the process. Your recovery comes first. Even before your husband, your recovery comes first. Come again. Be a guest again on my YouTube channel.
Absolutely. I'll just keep looking for them God winks.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in today. I really hope you enjoyed the discussion today. We hope to see you again. Please subscribe to our channel. Come back again. We hope to see you soon. And don't forget to hit that bell for notifications and updates. Thank you so much. We love you.